Your name, your address, and your phone number are floating around the internet. Easy for strangers, scammers, and companies you've never heard of to find. Data brokers and shady databases collect and sell your private details to anyone willing to pay, putting you at risk of nonstop spam, scams, and fraud. You can't stop them from collecting data, but you can control who gets to keep it. That's why I use Incogni. They remove your private information from more than 420 of these sites automatically. And with their unlimited plan, you get total coverage. If you spot your personal details anywhere else online, just send them the link, and their privacy experts will get it taken down. It's the easiest, most complete way to protect yourself and personal life. Right now, you can lock in 60% off with my exclusive deal at privacykim.com. Go to privacykim.com right now and start protecting your privacy. This is so important. Privacykim.com. That's privacykim.com.
Thank you for listening to The Kim Komando Show. While we spend time this holiday week with our friends and family, here's a replay from September 9th, 2023.
I always like to start with something interesting. And now, do you really know what the GPT means at the end of ChatGPT? Okay, I'm going to tell you in a second. But this past week, dictionary.com, they added a few words to its list so that this way we are just a little bit more in the know. So what about that GPT? Anyone? Okay, it means generative pre-trained transformer. No wonder why we say GPT. So if you've ever chatted with a smart online customer service rep and you thought, is this a human or is this a bot? Well, you were talking to GPT. All right. How about an LLM? No, not an multi-level marketing. No, an LLM. That stands for large language model. See, don't you feel smarter right now? So if you've used ChatGPT, that's what the data is based off of. Now, what about generative AI? That's AI that can generate new content. Wow. See, mind blown. You are so smart already. We're only like seconds into the show. And I heard that they're going to be making a brand new Broadway production based on the dictionary. Yes, it's going to be called A Play on Words. Oh, yes. And you're about ready to get more tech smart because every single thing is now a tech thing. Now, to those who are joining us for the very first time, a warm welcome to you. We're so thrilled to have you on board. And to our loyal listeners, a huge welcome back. Oh, you look so smashing. I'm, of course, Kim Komando, America's digital goddess, here with you with the biggest show, the most trusted show. And you can find my award-winning show on over 420 top radio stations throughout the United States. And we're streaming in your favorite radio app. Just search for my last name, Komando, with a K. And you can find us as a podcast or webcast commercial-free over at Komando.com. There on the homepage, just find that button that says Komando Community. And yes, I did say commercial free. And a big hello and salute goes out to all of our listeners on the American Forces Network Radio, reaching over 375,000 U.S. service members, serving in 175 countries and 200 ships at sea. And I know that you have at least a few digital dilemmas that I can lend a hand to. And that's why our T-Mobile Unlimited listener line is now open. At 1-888-825-5254 is the way to join us. And if you don't want to come on a big-time radio show and podcast because maybe you're just a little shy, I get that. You can drop me your questions over at Komando.com. There's a big old button that says Email Kim. All right, just for you, dear listener, I check out 35 different websites every single day to make sure that we're both up to date. And here are the top 5 things you need to know about tech right now. And we're going to start with a sickening but true story. The United States is the biggest consumer of child pornography. Okay. Let me just put it straight. Child porn is not just this blanket term for one of the most horrific forms of child abuse. The images, the videos of these truly vile acts are spread and shared. Once it's out there, there's no way to stop it. With AI, we are in big trouble because any image of any child online can be turned into child pornography. That's why 50 attorney generals are asking Congress in a letter to stop AI-generated sexual abuse images before the problem gets out of hand, which means it already is out of hand. Big-name AI art generators like DALL-E and Midjourney, they don't allow this, but certain open-source software does. You may just have a picture of your kid up on social media. You may have old pictures of yourself, and suddenly these pictures of you are turned into kiddie porn. It's just disgusting. It takes only seconds. So that's why we need to take action, and that's why I want you to contact your representatives. Let's move on to number 2. I'm going to talk about life-threatening TikTok challenges. TikTok's not going to take these challenges down, and I want you to sit down and talk to your kids about it. The latest viral challenge is using an aerosol can or rubbing alcohol to create a ball of fire. Yes, that's what I said, an aerosol can or rubbing alcohol. They're going to create a ball of fire. Arizona mom Tiffany Roper woke up to what she says was a blood-curdling scream of her 12-year-old son on fire. She took him to the kitchen. She hosed him down as fast as she could. The boy's in the hospital with second and third degree burns all over his body. What caused the fire? He wanted to do the Ball of Fire challenge. I don't get it. Another one this past week, the One Chip Challenge. A 14-year-old boy died after eating an extremely spicy corn chip from the brand Paqui. And on the back of the box, it says, keep out of the reach of children. The company's One Chip Challenge invites you to post videos eating chips made from two of the hottest peppers, the Carolina Reaper and the Scorpion. Okay, TikTok is not taking these videos down, folks. That's why you need to talk to your kids about them. Moving on to number 3, can we please slap some common sense into our politicians? Come on. I mean, what are we doing here? If you want the internet, what's happening is our government is paying big bucks to get the internet into rural areas. Like, for example, the Winnebago tribe in Nebraska. Right now, they don't have good internet. To make it faster, the federal government plans to spend an average of $53,000 per household to get fiber optic cable, yes, I said cable, to each household. In Montana, we're putting down fiber optic cable once again for some remote areas. It's going to cost $300,000 per connection. Wow. Okay, we as a country have given Elon Musk $15.3 billion to launch Starlink. Why aren't we using that everywhere? Come on, $300,000 per home. Jeez Louise. Moving on to number 4, Mamma Mia, here we go again, talking about ABBA. They perform 7 times a week to a sold-out crowd in London. The show has brought in over $150 million in sales in a little over a year, and the venue is at 99% capacity every single night. So, is it ABBA on stage? Nope. AI avatars in their 28-year-old selves. It's pretty spectacular. Here, let's take a listen to what's going on in London. I want to go. Yes, $150 million in a year and a half, 99% capacity, and it's just a bunch of avatars. Wow. Let me tell you, I recently was thinking about buying an ABBA toilet. Waterloo. Yeah, okay. Waterloo. Okay, we're just going to move on to number 5. Do you have a sex tape? You don't have to raise your hand or anything. I'm not here to judge you. But there's these nasty sextortion schemes that are spreading like wildfire online. It starts with an email claiming to be from a popular porn website. The subject, uploaded content, feedback required. And the email says that there's a video of you on the verge of being published in the next 7 days. Of course, there's a way out. You have a convenient list of paid options to remove this video from all the sites in their adult network. And how much? Anywhere from $200 to over $1,500. And I know what happens when you get a phishing email like this. You think to yourself, sex tape? I've never made one of those, but that doesn't mean I don't have one. Okay, don't fall for it. Just hit the big old delete button. Have you ever heard the term pig butchering scams? Okay, if you're not familiar with the term, it has nothing to do with pigs. The whole idea is that a scammer is going to just fatten up that victim, usually with promises of, I love you, I want to spend my entire life with you. And then they butcher that victim. That's where it comes in. Pig butchering. They just steal all your money after they take you to the butcher. It usually starts with a text message. Okay, when Zeke Fox, an author reporter for Bloomberg News, got a text from an attractive woman messaging the wrong number, he knew that he was on the other side of a pig butchering scam because, Zeke's super smart. But instead of just ignoring it, he just wanted to see how far it would go. And it actually took him all the way to Cambodia, where he actually uncovered, would you get of all things, a human trafficking operation. Now, he's sharing his story in a brand new book, Number Go Up. Let me tell you, it's just a fascinating read. It's going to be released this week. Hey, Zeke, thank you so much for joining us. So take us back to that day when you got that first text message.
So I've been investigating the crypto world for like more than a year. And like you said, I was aware of this idea of pig butchering scams, but I hadn't looked into it that much. And I was out at a bar with a friend of mine when I got just like a random message saying like, "Oh, hey, David, did you pick up the milk on your way home?" or something like that. And I decided to write back to see where it led. I started talking with this woman who called herself Vicky Ho, and she claimed I'm in Brooklyn. She claimed that she was there too, which was kind of an odd choice because she kept sending me pictures that were clearly not from New York. But what was amazing was you imagine that a scammer might try and scam you right away, but she really put in a lot of effort to like chit-chatting with me. Like I wanted her to scam me so I could see how it worked, but it took days of flirting and chatting before she would let me in on it. But she started talking about how she knew she had like an uncle who was really good at trading, and she had a lot of money. Look at my car. Ooh, I'm golfing today. And then she started talking about these really profitable crypto trades that she could make.
Wait a second. So how long did it take before she went from, "Hey, I'm in Brooklyn and you're a great guy and this is what's going on." And are you replying to her as if this was totally like legit?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't let on that I had any ulterior motives, and I was just sort of playing along and saying like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you." And she'd say like, "How was your day?" I would tell her what I was up to. This went on for like 4 or 5 days. I was getting very impatient for her to scam me. And finally I had to tell her, I was like, "Vicky, I got my eye on this Tesla. It costs $100,000. It's got these crazy doors that go, gull wing doors. I just wish I could get $100,000 somehow." And then finally she was like, "Okay, I've got the way for you. Download this app." And this is what you have to, the whole thing seems too good to be true, but what's amazing is that like people really fall for it. People download the apps that these people that they think they're in these relationships. They'll download these apps and they'll start sending in lots and lots of money, hundreds of thousands, even like millions of dollars.
So what was the app that she talked about? What was it supposed to do? Were you supposed to just put in some money and then overnight you'd be a crypto billionaire?
So she said this was just like a normal crypto trading app, like Coinbase or Crypto.com. And I think the reason this whole thing is plausible is because just like the world of crypto is so confusing. It's like Dogecoin, like Ethereum, Bitcoin, like blockchain. Nobody really understands it. So she's telling me things like
stablecoin.
Yeah. She's like, "Download ZBXS and I'll teach you the secrets of like short-term node trading. You can get 30% overnight." And like, look, that sounds pretty good. But the trick is that she had me download this no-name app, and then she said to go on a real crypto app, like a regular one, like Coinbase or whatever I wanted.
Crypto.
Buy some of this stable coin called Tether, which is like a normal cryptocurrency you can buy anywhere, and send it over to your account at the new app. It was kind of confusing, but she walked me through the whole thing. She was sending me screenshots. And I kind of wanted to...
Vicky was really super helpful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she was very friendly. She even, if I didn't write back to her quickly, she'd send me, she'd be like, "Oh, did something happen? Are you okay? How are your kids?" Eventually, if I didn't reply to her quickly enough, she even sent like a voice memo where she said, "Oh, hey Zeke, like, why haven't I heard from you?" So yeah, but eventually after I'd sent in about $100, I realized that like this had gone far enough, and I said, "Vicky, I'm an investigative reporter. I really was just doing this so I could see how it worked. Would you be willing to talk with me?" And she just totally disappeared at that point. She said, it's not what you think. And I never heard from her again.
Wow. Okay. But so the whole idea, though, is that you have this fake crypto app and you're taking real crypto out of a real account and then transferring it to a fake app where they have control over all the money. So basically, when you did that, you gave her or the outfit $100 worth of Tether to just go ahead for them to cash out or just to keep.
Right. Like they make it look like on their special app that you have money in your account, and it'll even show you profits in that app. And they might even let you make a withdrawal. But in reality, once you've sent your crypto to their app, they control it. And they're just sizing up how much they can get from you before they run away with it. I mean, $100 isn't interesting to them. They're hoping I'm going to send them, $100,000.
How did you determine that Vicky was also a victim?
So I don't know for sure, but I had a Vietnamese hacker look inside this app that Vicky had me download, and he said that he had traced some of the IP addresses used to Cambodia. And when I started looking into it, I found that this is like a huge problem in Cambodia. There's giant office towers full of people working around the clock, sending these scam messages. And worst of all, a lot of them have been tricked into coming there from other countries in Southeast Asia. And they're threatened they're beaten, they get electrocuted. Some people are even killed. There's just it sounds like some sort of like QAnon conspiracy theory, but there literally are like these giant office parks filled with crypto slaves who are forced to scam Americans or people in other better off countries. And yeah, I mean, when I started looking into crypto, like I thought it was kind of like a silly thing where Dogecoin, like, oh, we can all buy some and we'll make some money and it's fun. And like, I never could have guessed that 2 years into the investigation, I'd be looking into like human trafficking. But once I learned about that, I had to go check it out for myself.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. So you went to Cambodia and you saw all this firsthand?
Yeah, so I teamed up with two Cambodian reporters, Mek Dora and Danielle Keaton-Olsen, who had been exposing this scam slavery problem. And we went to Sihanoukville, which is in southwestern Cambodia. It's the city that was totally transformed by Chinese investment over the last few years. And there had been this huge boom in casino construction. Then there was a change in the laws around gambling. And then COVID hit, there was less tourism. So they were left with this glut of casinos, and gangsters, mainly from China, moved in and took over these compounds and turned them into headquarters for scams where these workers would be trafficked. And I spoke with people who escaped from these compounds. They explained to me how it worked, told me about the places where they'd been held. But yeah, it was something that it was so horrible. I couldn't believe that it really happened. And so I wanted to go see it for myself. And I went over to this place called Chinatown in Sihanoukville. And it's just this very bleak office park with like dozens of towers. Each could have held thousands of workers. Some of the buildings have balconies, but the balconies had bars welded on them to like turn them into cages so people can't escape.
Gosh.
It was horrible to see.
So I guess my question is, the Cambodian government they must be fully aware that this is going on.
So it's become like an international incident. And Danielle and Dara, the two reporters I was working with, like if they were in the US, they'd be heroes, they'd get journalism prizes. But in Cambodia, the government is authoritarian. They were embarrassed by the attention paid to these scam compounds. And the president actually ordered that their newspaper be closed. So Cambodia likes to say that they've cracked down on this issue, but I went and saw many compounds that seem to be still full of workers. And there have been lots of reports that link the people that run the compounds to high-ranking officials in Cambodia. But the problem's even spreading to Myanmar, other neighboring countries. It's truly amazing that so much money could come from like these little scam text messages. One crypto guy I spoke to estimated that it was as much as $10 billion.
Really? That's crazy, that amount of money. Going back to somebody who escaped, how difficult was it for the folks that you talked to?
So the people that got out, one guy in particular I spoke to quite a bit, his name was Thuy, and he was from Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam, which borders Cambodia. He had to steal a cell phone, and he used it to contact a famous YouTuber in Vietnam who had been started rescuing people from these compounds and turning it into like viral videos. The YouTuber paid like a $5,000 ransom to get Thuy out. That's like the only way that people are able to leave, as far as I can tell, was paying ransom to the gangsters that ran these compounds.
You know, when I read about your book and your story, it was one of these things I was like, sitting in this chair and doing this for all these years, and this number of scams that I've heard about, it was incomprehensible to me that a government would allow this to happen to its own people. And then also the United States in some way is letting it happen because they're scamming so many of primarily our older adults, I would see, who would probably fall for these pig butchering scams more than maybe younger folks. And it's really brave of you to really put this together. And just to think that it all started with just a text message from Vicky, right? Saying that, oh, are you David? And you're like, nope, not David, but I'm Zeke and I want to know more, right?
Yeah. And no, it was really one of the craziest things that's happened in my career. And I also want to say that a lot of this money eventually passes through crypto exchanges, the well-known ones like Binance or formerly FTX, the one ran by Sam Bankman-Fried. Yeah. And if you read my book, you'll see like towards the end of it, I actually go to the Bahamas. I'm with Sam Bankman-Fried. And I get to ask him just before he got arrested. He's like, the FTX famously collapsed. And I asked him like, you know, some of this pig butchering money is passing through your exchange. Have you ever like done anything to stop this? And he's just like, oh yeah, that like sounds really bad. But yeah, just time and again, I found that not just with pig butchering, but in all aspects of crypto, it was having crazy impacts like all around the world. And the people who came up with these coins and got like really rich off them had not spent much time thinking about how it might affect people in the real world.
Exactly. And that's the problem. And so, you know, so the title of your book is Number Go Up, and it's Zeke. Spell your last name because it's not Fox, F-O-X, like people might think.
Yeah, F-A-U-X. So you might think it's Faux, but it's Fox.
And of course, the book is available everywhere. It's called Number Go Up. Hey, Zeke, thanks for sharing your story with us. And the next time you want to investigate something, let us know because you're always welcome back. Wow, what a story. All right, let's talk about hackers and the dark web. Okay, they make a ton of money by selling your private information on these underground forums. And it's possible that your passwords are being sold on the dark web right now. The dark web is full of these non-indexed websites. In other words, your standard search sites, they're not going to find them. You have to use, well, something like the Tor browser and some other steps in order to get to the dark web. But let's start with some ways that you can kind of get control of your passwords. Of course, you know, a password manager. It's a database for keeping all your important accounts, and it helps you create strong, original, hard-to-guess passwords for all of your accounts. There's just one problem, is that when you create a new password for an account, it's hard to remember them, but these password managers, they kind of take over all that headaches. But here's the deal. It's a big warning. If you're using LastPass, in November of last year, they disclosed a breach in which hackers stole these passwords vaults containing both encrypted and plain text data for more than 25 million customers. Turns out that the crooks have succeeded in cracking open these vaults, and they targeted more than 150 folks, and they've robbed about $35 million worth of crypto. So, word to the wise, if you're using LastPass, don't get a new one. We use RoboForm here. And using any password manager, do not put your crypto password in there. Please, please, please do not. Now, if you want to see if your passwords are being sold, I want you to check out Cyber News Checker. It's the most extensive data leak checker that's out there. And it's really simple to use. You just go ahead and type in some of your intel, and then it'll tell you whether or not any breaches are associated with your email address. We've got links to those over at komando.com. Just head to komando.com where there's a big old button on the homepage that says Show Pics, and that's where you go. All righty, let's see who's up next. Tammy in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Hi, Tammy.
My daughter lives in Jacksonville, and she has a 1-year-old. She's been having to go all the way on the other side of town with babies. She's already been involved in 2 hit and runs, and finally somebody rear-ended her big time, and a lot of disc and stuff out of whack, and totaled her car. To make a long story short, she's starting to look at in-home work. She's been with cardiologist managers and all this for years.
Mm-hmm.
She's 35 now, and it's just really dangerous, her traveling with that baby 30, 40 minutes with gas and everything else. And
Sure. Well, let's talk about maybe some ideas for her, okay, and some ways that will give both of you guys peace of mind, because it's got to be, really horrible for her to get back on that highway with the baby and in the back, even in the center, and then knowing that these accidents has happened. It's very frightening. So because she has a medical background, there are some things that she could probably find online, like telehealth opportunities. We all know since the pandemic and we were all sitting at home on our couches, watching Netflix, nightmare, is that there are now remote consultation services, and she could be an admin, manager, even patient liaison roles on any of these telehealth platforms. Health insurance firms also have people who still work at home, and they handle claims, customer service, medical transcription and coding, because she's familiar with medical terminology. She may be good at transcription or maybe some procedures for billing. She could also look at maybe some e-health startups. There's tons of that, especially because of AI. There's a website called AngelList, and AngelList will go ahead and list some jobs as well as some companies who are just getting some funding. And then there's also the remote job boards, like FlexJobs, Remote Co., and also Upwork and Freelancer. So what you can do is if you want to point her in a direction for all of these, is that she can go on the job sites like LinkedIn.com or Indeed.com or ZipRecruiter, and then type in remote healthcare position and see what pops up. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of warnings, is that if anybody asks her to pay for an application or whatever it may be, that's not legit, okay? And she is going to have to interview for these jobs, just like she would have to interview for a real in-person position. But the benefit is that the pay is going to be there. She's going to save money on gas. She's not going to have this headache and, put her life at risk and along with the baby. And then you'll also be able to sleep soundly because you know that she's going to be at the house, right?
Right.
And then when she finds a position, tell her to look on the company's website, the official company website, and see if that same career is listed. And if it is, then we know that it's a legit opportunity, because every website has, like ours is komando.com/careers, and everybody has a careers section on a website if it's legit. And so just make sure that that company's legit. And she can always just look at bbb.org. She can just type in the name of the company, review, whatever it may be. But there's tons of opportunities there, seriously. And it's just pointing her in the right direction. And you're a great mom, Tammy, for reaching out, really. Now, if your daughter, you explain all this to your daughter, and, we can send you this phone call too, Tammy, so you can play this call for your daughter and she can go ahead and listen to it at her leisure, is that if she has any questions whatsoever, I'd love to speak to her directly anytime if I can lend a hand. Again, we're talking about telehealth, health insurance firms, medical transcription, coding, virtual office management, these e-health startups, and also all the remote job boards. And if she does land a gig, Tammy, let me know. Call me back. I always like to hear some positive news from speaking and helping out all of our great callers like you. Okay, real quick, if you are not looking for a medical job, what else can you do? You can be a graphic designer. Maybe you are into content marketing or social media management. You could be a technical writer, a copywriter, an editor. Customer support rep jobs, those are really big. That's where remote agents can help folks via chat, email, and phone. Speaking of virtual assistants, you could be an online tutor. You could be a teacher. You could be an e-commerce specialist. You could be a data analyst. You could be a scientist. You could be an accountant. You could be a project manager. Everything that you can think of that you can do is available for a remote position. But I always want you guys and gals to be super smart. And as I mentioned, if somebody asks you to pay for a job, you just want to go ahead and run away from that one. Hey, if you have an Asus router, you need to update it. Yeah, the company announced that there are major security flaws that lets anyone with the right know-how to easily break into 3 specific models. But I'm just going to say, if you have an Asus, just make sure that you go ahead and get into your router admin panel and then make sure that you look for any firmware updates and apply them. Now, some routers would do this automatically. Okay, if your luck is like mine, you don't have that router. So what I want you to do is to make a note in your calendar, say every 3 months, just go ahead and check to see if there are any firmware updates for your router. If you're not sure how to do any of that, we've got the steps free for the taking over at Komando.com, with a K, of course, I know. Router's not the most exciting topic, I get that, but it's really important security tips. Hey, tell 3 friends about the show because, after all, knowledge is power. If you own a home, listen up. This is scary. The FBI is warning about a crime on the rise: home title theft. And it doesn't happen the way you might think. No break-ins, no stolen keys, just a forged signature on a single piece of paper filed with the county. In minutes, criminals can transfer the title out of your name, then use your ownership to drain your equity or even sell your home. The worst part, most people don't know what's happening until they get collection or foreclosure notices in the mail. That's why I trust Home Title Lock. When you visit HometitleLock.com/Kim, you'll get a free title history report and a 14-day free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection, including 24/7 monitoring of your home's title, urgent alerts to changes, and if fraud does happen. Their U.S.-based restoration team will work to restore your title, covering costs up to $1 million. Don't wait. Protect your home and equity today. Get your free 14-day trial at HometitleLock.com/Kim. That's HometitleLock.com/Kim.
Thank you for listening. Here is hour 2.
All right, I always like to start each hour with something interesting, and you can't make this up. Your phone can save you in just a number of ways. But what if you were in a battle between you and a jaguar? Yeah, I know. A 40-year-old farm worker in Brazil was attacked by a jaguar, and his phone saved his life. Here's what happened. The big cat chomped down on his phone, and the lithium-ion battery exploded in its face. The cat got spooked and ran away. But just imagine for just a second. What if that phone wasn't in his pocket? What if this didn't happen? It would have been a real catastrophe. Oh, yeah, that was a good one. We're on a roll. And on that happy note, welcome, ladies and gents, because after all, I'm Kim Komando, and you just tapped into the biggest show, the most trusted show, because I am your beloved digital goddess here with you once again. And you're about to get more tech smart because every single thing is now a tech thing. And for those tuning in for the first time, a warm welcome. And we're delighted to have you joining us. And to our regulars, it's great to have you back. And you can find my show across 420 fantastic radio stations in the United States. And if you want to listen on your own time, no problem. Just pop open your favorite radio app and you can search Komando to find me. And if you're more into podcasts or webcasts, head over to Komando.com, find that Komando community button, and experience me 100% commercial free. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, we're just a click away. And a special shout out goes to our listeners on the American Forces Network Radio, serving more than 375,000 American servicemen and women in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, and the Space Force in 175 different countries. And our T-Mobile Unlimited listener line is now open at 1-888-825-5254 is the way to join us. And in case you want to, you can always drop me your questions over through the website. There's a big old button at Komando.com that says Email Kim. All right, it's my labor of love. I check out 35 different websites, maybe more, every single day to bring you up to date with the top 5 things that you need to know about tech. And we're going to start with, do you remember Blockbuster and Plan? Yeah, that was before Netflix and chill. Remember, we had to go wander down the aisles and then look at the VHS covers and then, be kind and rewind. What about today, where you can stream just about any single show that you want on your couch? But believe it or not, there's a revival happening. People are digging through their attics and dusting off their VHS collections. Why? They want to watch them to remember the good old days. Now, if you have any old VHS tapes, wow, they may be worth a lot of money, according to recent eBay sales tracked by Screen Rant. A VHS copy of Back to the Future 2 recently sold for $1,000. Okay. A Goonies VHS tape recently went for over $4,000. Yes. Okay. A Nightmare on Elm Street fetched $5,000. Yes, I'm talking about VHS tapes. I know. It's kind of crazy. We have a list of the top-selling VHS tapes over at Commando.com in case you have any in your collection. You're like, maybe they're worth some money. Number 2 on our list of 5 things is Elon is shaking in his space boots. The Tesla Model 3 has a range of 333 miles on a single charge. A sticker price about $40,000. Well, Tesla has a contender for Mercedes-Benz. It's called the CLA Class Concept. It charges up to 248 miles in 15 minutes. Its overall range, 446 miles. The real game changer, you're going to get a Mercedes for around $50,000 instead of a crappy Tesla for $40,000. I mean, it's about time that somebody actually came to the plate with a real competitor to a Tesla. Oh, by the way, BMW, I just read that they're going to stop charging a monthly fee for heated seats. Subscription-based cars is what we're talking about. It's not a joke. They were actually going to charge you a monthly fee for heated seats. Yeah, BMW, you know what that stands for. Break my wallet. Number 3, Google took a small step for mankind finally. For years, we've been putting up with these sneaky, deceptive ads that just pass through content moderation systems over at Google. Okay. But they're finally going to change this. They have a new policy that limits how many ads appear from a specific brand without a history of good behavior. And advertisers now have to go through an identity verification step. Let's just give the billion-dollar trillionaire company, let's just give them a round of applause. So if an advertiser is a newcomer with no track record of behaving nicely, they're going to find themselves on a short lease. Google says those unfamiliar ads limited reach until they can prove that their intentions are good. Okay. The big question is, what took so long, Google? What? Oh, it was the money, honey. That's what it was. Number 4 on our list of 5 things is one person is usually missing from those precious vacation pictures. Yep, it's moms. Moms are usually the ones taking all the pictures. That's what the research says. So if sick and tired of not being featured, moms are now hiring vacation photographers to follow them around and get great pics of the family to post online. Hannah McClune, for instance, she had a chat with the Daily Mail, and Hannah shared her experience saying that she was often the one behind the camera, missing out on being part of those captured memories. She realized it was time to step in front of the lens and be part of those family moments. So what did she do? She hired a professional photographer for a half-day shoot during her family vacation. She paid $881 for this session. Now, this is interesting, okay? So if you are a photographer and you live where there's a vacation destination, you might want to think about this as a gig. You can be a vacation photographer. Just follow people around zip lining and driving and beaching it, whatever it may be. It's a pretty good gig. She paid $881 for just a half a day. A fun fact, almost half of all millennials in a survey recently mentioned that how well a destination would photograph for Instagram was a top consideration when picking their next vacation spot. A little shallow, I think. Just a little tiny bit. All right, finally, we're going to, for number 5, go to Tampa, Florida. Rick's on the River. It's the go-to chill spot there. Raw oysters, classic bar bites, live tunes every single day, but there's a hitch. It's a hot spot for dine and dashers, and they're slick. They park near the exit. They grab seats closest to the door. The owner, Ken Brankin, he said, I am tired of this crap. So he went all out. He set up 16 cameras to catch the dine and dashers in the act and then splashed their faces all over social media. And one of the most recent vids, an employee in a full-blown parking lot showdown with a lady who allegedly bailed on her beer tab. She's there up close and personal in the video, arguing that the wind knocked over her beer. Okay, she didn't drink it. It's over on their Facebook page, clocked in over, 10,000, 12,000 views. Ken says he's getting his cash back with his haul of shame, and he swears it's working. He said the dashers most of the time come back paying up after getting a dose of being on his Facebook page. Started the mind thinking about this. Dine and Dash, right? That's for restaurants. Is not paying for a haircut a cut and run? Yeah, I know. That was a big groaner. All right, let's talk about your car. What it is just basically a big computer on wheels. Now, what do we have with computers and phones and tablets? Yes, people, companies listening in and collecting all types of data. But what is your car really collecting? Now, there's a new report from the Mozilla Foundation, and it's a lot of data. Of the 25 car brands that they studied, all of them collected personal data. It's hard to think about this, that your car is actually collecting dirt on you. The Mozilla Foundation, of course, it's a nonprofit. It analyzes safety, privacy of a whole slew of products. And they said it's the worst product it ever reviewed for privacy is our cars. Oh, my gosh. So joining us right now is Jen Kaltreiter. She's the program director of Mozilla's Privacy Not Included program. And we're going to talk about this report. So what was the original premise, Jen?
Well, the original premise was actually interesting because a reader from Sweden emailed me out of the blue last year and said, have you considered looking at cars? They're really bad at privacy. And up until then, I hadn't really thought much about it. I drive an old 2002 truck, and I was like, And he shared a lot of research, and I was like, oh, wow, let's look into this. So we got it on the schedule for 2023, and we started looking into it, and it was like, holy cow, this is bad. And it's shockingly bad to the point where I was like, how come nobody's talking about this? Like, this is really bad, and it needs to be talked about, and why is nobody talking about it? So that was kind of how it all got started.
So our cars are collecting data. What type of data?
You name it, it can collect it. Cars are very interesting because there's the car itself, which we'll consider a device. It has sensors that can track where you're going, how fast you're going, how much you weigh, how many people are with you. It's got microphones. It's got cameras that face in and look at you. It's got cameras that face out and look at the public. And then there's the connected services that the cars use, whether that's the radio service you're listening to or the navigation system or the emergency service that if you crash, on and on and on. Those are all services that are also collecting data. And then there's the apps. Cars come with apps now. They didn't used to come with apps. They come with apps now. Those apps do great things, like you start your car remotely or honk your horn, but they also collect data. And so taken amongst just all of that on top of your car dealer collecting data and on, there's so much data. But it's not just that they're collecting so much data. It's how brutally honest I think they were in their privacy policies about what they were collecting.
And what are they doing with all that data, right?
They're going to use it to make money because that's what data is these days. It's money for companies. So they want to get as much of it as they can. And cars can collect a lot of data. And so they share it. They use it internally. Car conglomerates are huge. And so they share it amongst their family of businesses to target you with advertising. They share it out with third-party advertisers or sell it to third-party advertisers for them to target you with ads to make more money. They collect data from data brokers to build a profile on you that gives people even more insight into who you are, and say they can make things about you like inferences about your intelligence or your abilities. And I'm like, I don't want a car company to make a inference about my intelligence. That's creepy. But then one of the maybe the creepiest things they say they can share it with is law enforcement and government with a very low bar. We saw companies say they could share personal information that they collect on you from their cars and apps with something as simple as an informal request from government. And that's when we start to get into the, holy cow, this seems really dangerous.
Have you found certain brands to collect more data than other brands, or is this pretty much universal? If you have a connected car, this is just an expectation?
I think that if you have a connected car, it is an expectation that they're collecting a lot of information. What we did find was some car companies just outright came out in their privacy policies and admitted to collecting a lot more information. Like I said, when Kia says they can collect information about your sex life, that raises an eyebrow. But other companies are a little more vague. They say they can collect sensitive personal information, like, for example. And then maybe they don't go into as much detail as Kia or Nissan did, but they're probably still collecting a lot of that data. And they're all collecting tons of what we call telematics. Your car insurance company used to say, hey, we'll send you a dongle if you plug it in and you drive safe, we'll give you a discount. And that was, a little creepy, but you could opt into that. Now, all that tracking is already built into the car, so you're not able to opt out of it, and that's what's scary.
Can you see the data? I mean, can you have access to it, or is it something that in order to drive the car, like with an app, you just have to click agree and, just kind of take it as it rolls?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, you seeing the data is tricky, and depending on where you live, you have, people in California have more rights to have their data deleted than I do in Vermont. Say, I tried to have my car company delete my data, and when they ask what state I lived in, there's like, oh, sorry, we don't have to delete your data. But then there's the choice, and the consent gets very interesting with cars. And then there's, like you mentioned, Tesla has an interesting line in their privacy policy where they're like, hey, we know people buy our cars because they're connected, but if you want to opt out of data sharing for privacy reasons, you can go ahead. And then you keep reading and they say, but if you do, your car might become inoperable or become dangerous. You're like, oh, that's not much of a choice.
You know what? Here's the deal with the Tesla, Jen, is that if you opt out, they actually turn on full self-driving mode. Okay, so with this report, when folks take a look at it, can they type in their make and model and then see what the collection is over on the Mozilla website? Yeah,
well, they can go there. There's a category page. If you go to privacynotIncluded.org, you'll see a category for cars. And then you can go in there and click on your car. And we've got a whole full review with more information than you might even care to read about laying all out what they're collecting, how they're using it, how they're sharing it, how they're protecting it. And we have some tips there to help you protect yourselves. But the biggest tip I can give consumers today is we've got to put the pressure on the regulators and the policymakers to step up and do better, because there really aren't good choices for consumers right now.
Or you just stick with that 2002 car and I'm going to drive around my 1946 Chevy pickup. How about that?
Yeah, that's great if you know how to fix it.
Yeah, that's the old problem. You know what? I'll tell you, the 1946 pickup truck, okay, you can't go over 40 miles per hour. That's just the way that it is. I mean, but there's no data being collected, so there it is. Jen, thank you so much for sharing this report with us. And folks, once again, in case you want to check it out, it's at privacynotIncluded.org. If you'd like to see a list of all the cars and what we think about the privacy concerns, we have that all posted over at komando.com with a K, of course. All right, we're going to dive into the universe of this very busy Reddit community called Am I the A-Hole? Now, this is a place where people will share their stories and their circumstances, and they're wondering if maybe they did the wrong thing. So I'm going to go ahead and read a popular post from the Reddit forum, Am I the A-Hole? And then it's up to you to decide. You get to be the judge. Are they or are they not to blame? Now, of course, we always have a special guest contestant joining us, vying for the ultimate prize. You know what that is? It's the much coveted Kim Komando Show fanny pack, valued at $25.99. And joining us this week, Brian in Morganville, West Virginia. So glad to have you here with us. Brian?
Hello, Kim. How are you?
Good. So what do you do there?
I do a lot of things, but my main thing is that I'm a realtor.
Oh, okay. This is right up your alley then. And I'm going to go ahead and read the story. And then at the end, it's up to you to say, is the person who wrote the note the a-hole or is he not? Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. Here's the title. AITA for selling the house without my wife's approval. My wife is 36. I'm 39. We've been married for 10 years. The house was purchased while we were engaged. Now, the title of the house has always been my name and in my name only. The house is located in her hometown, which is really small with no job opportunities. Now, I've been out of work for 11 months. My wife has a job. She's pregnant with our second child, and we have an 8-year-old. Things have been kind of rough lately, he writes. I've looked for a job in every way possible, even in nearby towns, keeping in mind that I might be driving 4 hours a day every day. So I decided to sell and move to another town just so I can find a job. Well, the wife threw a total fit after I suggested this, and she says, I'm not going to move out away from my family. I told her, hey, that's not my problem. I have to get a job because we're going to be taking care of a newborn and babies are expensive. As an individual, I also have a right to a stable income of my own despite my wife's work. We couldn't reach an agreement. I found myself sitting down explaining myself to her mom and dad, and they kept saying I had no right. Well, yesterday, my wife blew up when I told her that I've already contacted the realtor, and the realtor has found a buyer. My wife yelled at me. She called me selfish and awful. Let me tell you, losing my job made me feel absolutely devastated and miserable. I was told to do other things temporarily, but I refused because it was so humiliating and disrespectful. I didn't work hard to get my degree just to end up working in some shop or just sitting at home. So am I the a-hole for selling my house without my wife's permission, even though she isn't listed as the owner? What do you think, Brian?
Well, I think both of them are at fault. She's operating solely on emotion. He's operating on logic, but they got to communicate. I realize it may be hard to come to an agreement, but maybe they need a marriage counselor before they move on. But he shouldn't try to sell it without her, though.
So the answer is yes. He did the wrong thing. Let's
fair enough.
Let's see what the judges say. Yeah. The collective internet has agreed, Brian, with you and me that he shouldn't be selling the house without his wife's permission, especially when he's got an 8-year-old and a newborn, and maybe he needs to suck it up, Buttercup, and just get a job, right? Okay.
Even though he says what you got to do.
Yeah. You know what? We've all been there. What was the crappiest job you've ever had, Brian?
Oh, I don't know, but there were a few at one point. I hit a low point in my career about 20 years ago, and I just did what I had to do to take care of my family.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. I mean, mine was I was a hostess at a bar. That was the worst. Talk about getting hit on. It was like, oh my gosh.
I can imagine.
That was really awful. So what's going on with you, and how can I lend a hand? And congrats on the big win of the Kim Komando Show Fanny Pack.
Well, thank you, Kim. I've been listening to you since the late 90s. I was driving in western North Carolina late one night, and I picked you up on an AM station from a long distance. It was actually WSB from Atlanta, and I've been listening to you ever since. So it's been at least 25 years at this point. You know.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's a big stick there in Atlanta. It does. It goes far.
It is, yeah. Mm-hmm. But the reason I contacted you is in 2024, I will be the president of my local board of realtors, the Morgantown Board of Realtors in West Virginia. And this is both a benefit and a bit of a task. That is, I have to write a column for our Sunday paper. So for 52 weeks, I write a 500-word column. I'm a pretty decent writer. I have some pretty good content, but I am concerned at coming up with enough content for 52 weeks when I've got to keep it either about real estate or closely related to real estate. I've been very hesitant getting involved with AI out of privacy concerns, but it was suggested to me that I utilize AI to help maybe fill in some of those weeks with some content, and then I could go in, edit, and change it to my own style. So I guess my question to you is, do you recommend any particular AI service? I've heard that some don't write well. I'm just not sure where to begin on, with this ChatGPT. I know there's a bunch of others. Do you have any suggestions on that?
Well, I write a ton. I do. Mm-hmm. I write a lot. I mean, I write for the Daily Mail, USA Today, the New York Post, Fox News, and then, of course, we have our daily newsletters that one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and it's just there's a lot of content. And so, I always thought selfishly, I wonder if I could get ChatGPT to actually write like me. Okay, and I'm going to tell you how you can do it, and then I'm going to tell you the downside. Okay.
Okay.
So I would use ChatGPT. And I would pay the $20 a month. So this way you can use ChatGPT 4. And it also gives you some extra inquiries and prompts. And you can save your results. And you can also do something what I'm talking about. You can create a writing style. And so what you do is you have to give it, say, have to have like 10 examples of things that you have written. So it could be a multitude. Maybe it's a social media post if that's what you're going to do. If you're just going to do columns, then give it 10 columns of stuff that you've written. Okay. You start out and you say put the word ready in all capital letters. And then you tell it what you're going to do. Say ready in all caps and then say, I'm going to post examples of my writing every time I say ready. And when I'm done, I'm going to give you the word finished in all capital letters. Or if you have enough samples to create a writing style, use the word finished in all capital letters. The reason why I like it is to put this in capital letters because it stands out, okay? And you can see clearly what's going on. So you feed it these different examples, And when it says finished, you say, save this as Brian's writing style. So the next time you want to write something, you can say, you could tell ChatGPT, the mortgage interest rates are over 7%. It's probably not a good time for you to buy. And here are 3 reasons why it's not a good time to buy. And you might want to wait unless you absolutely have to sell or whatever it may be. And then you're going to tell ChatGPT, put this in Brian's writing style. So you do this and it comes back and it's probably 50 or 60% your writing style. And then you have to actually fine tune it. So when it comes back, maybe you don't want to use the word a depressed real estate market. Then you say, don't say depressed real estate market. I want to keep this upbeat. Okay. And so it becomes kind of your assistant. And each time it makes a change, you say, save this as Brian's writing style. Okay. Now, I've been doing this for a long time. Okay. And one of the things that AI doesn't have is a personality or a voice. The worst thing you can do is put something out that's incredibly boring because people won't read it. So you have to have some fun with it and tell stories. And so, maybe the column is about your first open house that you ever did. And, or maybe it's about how you were having an open house and some dog came in and messed up the carpet. So what I want you to do is have where people can identify with you as a writer, as a person. If it's just boring, and this is what AI is going to spit out, but it's going to give you a structure. And then it will tell you what the writing style is. And so when it comes with my writing style, it's informative, it's entertaining, it's this, and this. But it's still nothing that I can actually just say, oh, thank you, ChatGPT. I don't have to touch this ever again for the rest of my life. Okay. No, it's just not that. Now, here's the other thing. Here's another hidden secret about ChatGPT is that it may sound kind of strange, but you will get better results if you say please and thank you. Okay. I know you're talking to a chatbot, okay, but I think the programmers have written in certain algorithms that if you do say please and thank you, that you'll get better results.
Interesting.
So again, you're going to start by saying the word ready in all caps, and then you're going to put paste all your examples in. And then when you're done, you say finished, and you tell it when you're done, you say finished. And then it may come back, like with me, it comes back and it says finished. I don't even need to say it anymore because I may say, add this article to the Commando writing style. And, but it's not going to replace the good old human brain. Not yet. I think we're probably years away from that. Hey, Bob, do me a favor and let me know how it works out for you. And again, congrats on the big win. Yes, an official Kim Komando Show fanny pack is going out to Brian in Morganville, West Virginia. All right, so you want to save some money, you want to get some free stuff. Well, there are some ways to do this online. You can join the Buy Nothing Project, no matter where you live. It's the official organization that has spread all around the world. Now, to get started, you download the app on the iOS or Android and join with a Gmail account. And then you can look at posts and private message, upload photos and videos, whatever you want to do. Now, if you don't want to download the app, you can head to Facebook, Nextdoor, or any other social media platform. Sometimes they're on Reddit, Discord, or Slack. But you'll have the most luck on Facebook or Nextdoor with this Buy Nothing group. Then you want to follow the steps. You're going to head to the search box, type Buy Nothing along with your town or city, and maybe just kind of scroll the listings. But you're going to find 3 different type of posts. Gifting posts, that's when someone has items that they just want to give away. Maybe it's furniture, books, kitchen gadgets. There's asking posts. That's when somebody needs something. Maybe it's baby clothes. Then there's gratitude posts. These are photos that are posted by people who have received the gifts. And it's actually kind of a really wonderful way. So it's really something kind of cool for you guys and gals to check out in case you're looking for something free or if you have something to give away. You can learn more about this by heading over to Komando.com, of course. And when you get there, hit the button that says Show Pics. All right, Mike in Irvine, California.
Kim, I'm kind of hoping you can help me with something simple here. I'm a disabled United States Marine stuck in a wheelchair, and I have to roll around the house carrying my cell phone and a cordless phone in my pocket everywhere I go to be able to take a call. And, it's gotten to the point where my pants pockets are full. And I was kind of hoping you would have a solution where I could get the two to work with each other. That way I don't have to buy pants with bigger pockets.
Okay. So there are a couple of ways that you can do this, Mike. Number one is that you can get a handset that pairs with your cell phone. And so, or is this because are you carrying two because you have a landline and a cell phone?
Yes, ma'am. I worry.
Okay. All right. So here's what we can do is that you can forward the landline number to your cell phone. And so you only have to carry one device. Okay. And then there are also these cordless phone systems. So you get a handset, you get a Bluetooth to cell, you have an answering machine, you have call blocking and all these other stuff. Is that something that sounds more interesting to you?
Oh, man, that sounds like the cat's meow right there.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do, sir. As a thank you for your service, I'm going to send this to you. I'm going to send this to you for free. Okay. It's made by Motorola, and it's about, $65, but I think it's going to be exactly what you need. And if for some reason this doesn't work out for you, Mike, which I'm sure that it will, just, get in touch with me again and we'll send that one back. But I think this is really the solution that you're going to want. I mean, it has, a whole bunch of features. You're only going to have to carry one thing in your pocket. No more two phones, just one phone. Again, it's the Motorola Voice D8711 is that model number. And it's about, like I said, it's about $65. So hang on the line, Mike. We're going to get your name and address, and we're going to send that out to you. Compliments of me as just a special thank you, little special thank you for your service to our country. Your text messages are probably full of memes and photos and conversations and responses. And I bet you there are some really important ones that you'd be just devastated if you lost them. So here's how to back them up. And let's start with Android. You want to use the app SMS Backup and Restore. I know there are just a ton of these in the Google Play Store, but the one that you want is SMS Backup and Restore. It creates a backup on your phone, to the cloud, Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive. And then you can create backups whenever you want or just create automatic recurring backups. Now, if you're using an iPhone, head into your iCloud settings and then toggle messages on, and then it will back it up to your cloud account. Or if you need more flexibility, say if you're in a legal situation, use the app called iExplorer. It's going to save your phone's messages to your PC or Mac as a PDF file. Now, if you need the names of the apps again, just head over to komando.com and use the phrase backup text messages, and then it'll just pop right up for you. And be sure to tell 3 friends about the Kim Komando Show and also our podcast, because everyone needs more knowledge, and knowledge is power.
Here is hour 3.
I always like to kick things off with something interesting. And guess what's trending on Google right now? Searches for sick day excuses. Yeah, 6 day excuses. And there's a reason. There's this huge game that has been launched called Starfield. And one of our IT geniuses and superheroes over here at Commando, John, he said that it's the most addicted he's been to a game since playing Skyrim. And in the last week, it saw more than 1 million concurrent players streaming it at once. Now, Pete Hines, he's the head of publishing at Bethesda. That's the company that put it out. He actually posted a fake doctor's note on his Twitter that he said everybody could use. It goes like this: to whom it may concern, please excuse me from work, school, chair, and chores for the foreseeable future. Again, it's called Starfield, in case you want to check it out. But speaking of, I broke up with my video game console because now it's my Xbox. Nothing personal. It was just time for a switch. Womp, womp. Yeah, I know. You're about ready to get more tech smart because every single thing is now a tech thing. I'm, of course, Kim Komando, America's digital goddess, here with you once again. It's the biggest show. It's the best show. It's the most trusted show about all things digital. And if it's your first time tuning in, a big ol' welcome to you. And to our regular listeners, it's always wonderful to see your familiar and happy face. Now, you can find my award-winning show on over 420 top radio stations throughout the United States, and we're streaming in your favorite radio app. And you can find us commercial-free as a webcast, as a podcast inside the Komando community. You can get 30 days free right now by heading to Komando.com and hitting that button that says Komando Community. And a special hello goes out to all of our listeners in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, and the Space Force, and 175 different countries who are joining us on the American Forces Network Radio, serving more than 375,000 American servicemen and women. And I'm sure that you have at least a few questions about something digital I can lend a hand to. And our T-Mobile Unlimited listener line is now open at 1-888-825-5254. And just a quick reminder that if you're just too dang shy to come on a big-time radio show and podcast, I get that. You can drop me your questions over at Komando.com. Just use that button that says Email Kim. You can count on me checking at least 35 different websites every single day to bring you up to date with the top 5 things that you need to know about tech right now. And we're going to start with 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. You remember that game? That's where you try to link any actor to Kevin Bacon through a series of movies. The idea suggests that any 2 people on Earth are connected through just 6 acquaintances or less. It's been more of a myth. That is, until now. Scientists recently found evidence to back this up. That's right. A global team of researchers took it upon themselves to put this theory to test. They started with a simple game connecting individuals labeled A, B, C, and D, allowing them to look at connections with people outside their current circle. Now, here's the part. After a series of connections were made, the scientists were able to trace their connections to each other. So, I tried this out myself to see if I could connect to myself with Meghan Markle. As a matter of fact, I was making dinner and Barry said, 6 degrees of separation. We were talking about this. And he said, who would you connect with? I said, I don't know, Meghan Markle. And then he said, how would you do that? I said, well, I know someone who lives next to Will Smith's agent. So I could contact that person who would contact that person. Probably Will Smith's agent probably knows who her agent is. And then so I'm only looking at maybe 3 connections away from her. Then I thought to myself, why would I ever want to talk to a narcissistic actress and a royal formerly known as Prince? I'd rather try to find Elon Musk, right? All right, let's move on to number 2. A heads up, if you have an Amazon Prime account, it's going up in costs on deliveries. Because here's what's going on. If you have your packages put into your garage using the Amazon Key and Delivery feature, well, now it's going to set you back $1.99, almost $2 per delivery, unless you choose the Amazon Delivery Day option. That's when instead of getting the next day, the next hour, maybe it's 5 days from now. It's going to cost you $2 for them to open the garage. And Amazon's also trying to nickel and dime you in the subscribe and save. I don't know if you noticed this, but they've made some major changes. If you buy something, that subscribe and save button is automatically checked. Yeah, pretty sneaky stuff. So make sure you're looking there. And more to add to the pile of stuff that you have to pay up for. If you order under $150 in Amazon Fresh grocery orders, you're going to have to pay a delivery fee. For orders under $50, it's going to cost you $10 more. One more thing. Amazon's going to start charging customers $1 if they return items to a UPS store when there's a Whole Foods, an Amazon Fresh, or Kohl's closer to their delivery address. That happened to my husband, Barry. He's like, Amazon's going to charge me $1. I don't even know where Whole Foods is. I'm like, yeah, it's not too far from here. Moving on to number 3, what happens in Vegas are the robots. What's going on with that? You can head to a robot and ask for the best recommendation on a restaurant. No need for a human concierge anymore. Bots are serving up frozen margaritas, and they're even handing over hotel keys in Las Vegas. Now, some new studies there that say up to 65%, wow, of the jobs in Vegas could be automated by 2035. Wipes out a lot of jobs, and tourism is a big part of that economy. So just how bad will this impact be? The Culinary Union in Las Vegas is ready to go on strike. It wants to have a contract that protects against artificial intelligence replacing jobs, and start thinking about this. What about a robotic dealer? That would be kind of weird, wouldn't it? A blackjack dealer, robotic entertainers, that's coming for sure. Moving on to number 4, wouldn't it be great to just go offline? Think about this. No email, no logging in, no authentication codes, no memes, no social media. Well, one guy in Canada tried it out. For a whole year, Aaron Rosenberg spent his time by not going online. He taught English and theater at a local high school. And while he was there, he noticed like how important it was for the kids to be connected. They always had this phone glued to his bodies. It was hard for them to turn it off. So what did he do? He paid his bills by check and stamps and envelopes. He answered texts using his old school flip phone that couldn't go online. He wrote letters, lots of them, 250 letters a month. Why? He had all this time. He wasn't on social media. That's why he had that all the time to write 250 letters. He did his doctoral research the old school way, going to the library, looking at books and printed materials. He said he had a lot more phone conversations. He also said he felt like a time traveler, but all that is in the past now. Finally, this coming in at number 5, AI is taking over. A small Caribbean island that you may have never heard of is going to make a ton of money off of AI. It's called Antigua. And what's the tie to AI? Well, the country is lucky enough to have all of its websites end with the domain .ai. So if anybody wants a website with a .ai, they're going to have to pay up. So how much are they making? Oh, about $30 million a year. Wow. Isn't that something? All right, Bob in Atlanta, Georgia. Glad to have you with us. Hi there, Bob.
I'm an Amazon reseller. I've been doing it for over 13 years. I sell cosmetics, makeup, and I also sell makeup brushes. Mm-hmm. On August the 2nd, I get a policy warning from Amazon stating that I sold a counterfeit brush. Now, I've never had a complaint about any brush I sold, never got any negative feedback, never even had a return. So it was kind of surprising. And when I looked at the warning, it said that it was called a counterfeit claim without a test buy. So nobody actually bought the product. Someone made an accusation.
Okay.
Which is it's par for the course with Amazon. That they can pretty much do what they want to do. So they gave me an email address of a person I should contact to have the counterfeit claim removed. I sent several emails. It was an AOL address, which I thought was pretty bizarre.
That's bizarre.
But anyway, I sent the emails, no response. So then I decided I'm gonna contact the manufacturer of the brush. Since they're claiming that was the brand owner, the manufacturer of the brush is actually based in Canada. I don't know if you want me to give me the name or not, but
name's not important. But you did the right thing by contacting them. That was smart.
Yeah. So I was polite, but I was kind of saying, well, Amazon told me that you guys accused me of selling counterfeit, and they said no, wasn't us. We don't do that. In fact, we don't sell our brushes on Amazon. We tried to sell our brushes on Amazon at one point, and Amazon said we were not the brand owner.
Okay.
Even though they provided, corporate documents showing they have business license to do business in Canada, and they sell their brushes online from their website. So I said, well, that's interesting because someone is accusing me of selling counterfeit, and they're not even the brand owner. But Amazon refuses to remove the counterfeit claim against me, and basically they have this new thing called Account Health Performance. And if you get, too many claims like that, they'll kick you off permanently. So I really don't know where to go here because all of my brushes came in Ipsy bags. You're familiar with Ipsy, right?
Yeah.
And so you get 5 samples. Sometimes you get 4 samples in a brush. Sometimes you get 4 samples and a mask or something like that. And
sure.
But I got a lot of brushes a couple years ago, and I've been selling them, still sell them, and like I said, never had a complaint. But so the only way they could get you to comply is to provide them a wholesale invoice from an authorized distributor of that product. But there are no authorized distributors of that product. They only sell from the manufacturer, from their website, and then they send out these brushes in Ipsy bags every so often.
Okay, so now how do you I'm not an active Amazon seller. We do have a store there, but how do you file an appeal to this? You
can sometimes talk to someone on the phone. However, you're sent to India, and sometimes it's very difficult to communicate. There are appeal procedures, but they want you to provide. The only way they'll accept an appeal is if you provide them with a wholesale invoice. And if you send them a letter saying, you're sorry, it'll never happen again, then they still keep the demerit on your record for 6 months.
There's one side that I'm like, I'm happy that they are pursuing this, but then there's the other side that I'm sad that they are pursuing it in your case, because we don't want to buy counterfeit stuff. And you can't get the manufacturer just to write you a letter.
I have an email from them that says they never sent me the counterfeit warning, and they never sent Amazon a counterfeit warning. I mean, that's all I have, and I haven't sent that to Amazon. I just didn't know if it would even make a difference.
Well, this is where you have to throw everything you can against the wall, right? I mean, this is your livelihood. You're going into what would be, and it will be, the busiest shopping season of the year, right?
Right.
So we want to make sure that you have all your ducks in the row for that, especially, it's Christmas and it's Thanksgiving and it's Black Friday.
It's busy time.
Everybody's going to be on Amazon buying everything that they can.
Right.
I would be inclined to pull any type of lever possible.
Okay.
I might even be inclined to see if I needed to, is to get somebody to write a legal letter. Because sometimes people act differently when there's a letterhead associated with that. One of the other tricks that I have done, and I don't know, but I'm pretty aggressive and assertive, whatever you want to call it, when I want to get a job done. Everybody here at the studios are like, "Oh no, get out of her way because she's coming through," right? Type of thing. Is that you can always do a search for Amazon press release and Amazon media department, and typically they're going to have a way for you to contact them, because what they don't want is somebody like you investing time, money, effort, and energy on a national radio show and a big-time podcast talk about how crappy it is to sell stuff on Amazon, and they don't pay attention. And so I would be inclined to go ahead and try to track down that person and also their email address and tell them my tale of woe and say, what can we do to get this stopped? Now, I'm going to do you a solid better, okay, is that we do have an Amazon contact for the media department, from their media department. What I'd like you to do is to just outline for me everything that you just said, include all of the links to your store, any type of ammo that you can give me to forward to them, and to say, Bob's a great guy. He's just selling some brushes and makeup. We're not counterfeiting anything. And here's the email from the manufacturer. And so how do we get this turned around for Bob? Because it's so hard when you're dealing with these tech companies, right? I mean, they don't really want to talk to you. I mean, they don't really want to help you. I mean, you think that they would, but you're like, not so much, and try to go ahead and find an 800 number for anybody. And the worst thing you can do is go ahead and Google that. So, Bob, I'm going to go ahead and put you on hold, okay? Yeah. And then we're going to give you an email address to send me all of that good stuff that we just talked about, and we'll see what we can do to get that turned around post haste. Typically, if I get involved, they're going to help out, because I've got a big digital footprint online and offline. So again, Bob, happy to help you out. And for everybody else, we'll tell you how it turns out. And thank you for your call today, Bob. At this point, I would probably look at alternative places to also start selling my stuff, maybe at Etsy or eBay, or even just starting some social media ads with my own website, because it's hard to be dependent upon one place like Amazon, because they can just wipe you out of business in an instant. All right, we're going to talk about search engine optimization. Yes, everything in the tech industry, it's always shortened up to an acronym. You know that, SEO. What exactly is it? Well, it's this magic that will make your website just appear at the top of the Google search results. Yeah, it's some tricks and techniques that if you own a website, you need to make sure that your site stands out and you know a lot about SEO, or else, let's just face it, you're going to end up on page 2 or 3, which nobody really ever goes there. Well, maybe a couple of people do. And joining us here on the Kim Komando Show is our very own amazing content queen, Ali Seligman, because let me tell you, she knows everything. She's an expert. Well, right, Ali, right?
Yes. Thank you, Kim. I am indeed.
Well, see, it used to be that with search engine optimization that, we always had like these insider tricks, because it's not like Google says, here are the 5 ways, the 10 ways to make sure that you always appear on the search results at the very top. Why don't they just tell us this, Ali?
Well, first, if they did, that would kind of get rid of an entire industry of people that charge a heck of a lot of money to do that for you. But really, Google bombing is kind of what it comes down to. I don't know if you've ever heard that term. You have, Kim, but it's essentially when someone games the system to get something right to the top of search results that was never intended. And the more Google says, here's exactly what to do, the easier it is for people to do that. Couple examples. I know we don't get political here, but these things are usually political. They're usually activist. So in 2003, if you searched for miserable failure, you would get the official biography of George W. Bush. 2018, there was a time. Yeah. In 2018, there was a time where if you searched idiot, all the top images would be Donald Trump. Not getting political. I'm just telling you what happened. And then it's not always politics, though. In 2019, when people were pretty upset about the end of Game of Thrones, if you searched the names of the showrunners for that show, you got some pretty bad stuff about them. Again, a stupid idiot kind of thing. So it doesn't make sense to lay out all the rules because Google wants to make sure people are actually trying to create good content and not just get their stuff to the top of page one, because anybody can do that, right? If you know the right tricks.
Well, aside from knowing the tricks, you can always buy it, right? You get that sponsored as the very top. And, it's always interesting to me that how much you pay really depends upon your industry and your keywords. And so for example, if you're in the insurance industry, you're going to pay a lot more than if you were, breeding chameleons, because nobody really wants that, right?
Absolutely. The more competition, the more big names you're going against, the more you're going to pay. So if you are trying to be number one car salesman in your state, that's going to be really tough. But if you're breeding those chameleons, probably a really good chance you're going to get to the top.
All right. So let's go ahead and give all of our listeners and viewers right now some really hardcore, some concrete tips so that this way they have the best shot ever of getting on that first page of the Google search results.
Keywords. Keywords have always been important and they always will be important. Everyone knows we've all ended up on that web page where you can tell they took a list of keywords and sprinkled them and it just kind of feels like word salad. Doesn't make any sense. That is kind of the worst use case of keywords. But you can't guess, right? You can't guess what you should use. You need to use a tool for it. So Google Keyword Planner is a good place to start. It's free. And if you are just thinking what should I really target for my business? Start there. This connects with your Google Analytics account and, it all talks together. As you can afford it, if you can afford it, it is better to invest in tools that are going to do a better job at this and watch your performance over time. One that we like is SEMrush. It is expensive though. It starts at $130 a month. So save that for when you're a little further down the road, but either way, you definitely need a tool for this.
So the whole idea behind the keywords is that you're going to put the most important words on your site that you think your customer is going to be typing into Google, right?
Absolutely. And one thing that's interesting here is that is kind of shifting with voice search. So the way that you might have targeted 5 years ago is already different than what you're going to do now. Because think about how you would type something in versus how you might say it to your phone. I might say best Thai food Phoenix, or I might type best Thai food Phoenix just because I'm trying to type it out quick, right? But when I pick up my phone and I talk to it, I'm probably going to say something like, hey, what's the best Thai food near me? It's a lot more conversational, and so that kind of changes the way you do keywords. Another reason that using one of those planners or services to help you, they know what's going on. They know the trends. They know what people are actually searching for. And so that's a whole lot easier than trying to think about, okay, what is every single term my customers might search?
That's really good advice. Okay, let's move on to the next tip, which is about, the author bios?
Yes. One thing that Google really wants to see, especially as AI is taking over, making all this content, people want to see real stuff written by real people. And that's really important to show. How do you show it? One thing, like you said, Kim, include author bios. If you have a blog and you write about cars, Tell us who you are, why you write about cars, your experience, why we should listen to you. The more you can show, this is my expertise and here's why, the better. If you have a website where multiple people write, great. Have an author page that lays out everyone's experience and who they are and what they do. It's good to link to social media accounts. Anything that gives more credibility, and it's not just, oh, that's somebody using ChatGPT to write articles. That's the last thing you want. Right. So prove that you're a real person.
And put a photo up of the person too, because that also
Absolutely.
says, okay, that this is a bona fide human being. We don't have to sit there and go, oh God, ChatGPT one more time. All right. So Allie, we have so many people that have their own small businesses. And that's always a big question too, because let's say you're just a sole proprietor you're a plumber or you're a carpenter or you're a florist. I mean, and then you're competing with everybody else in the world. What about some tips for those folks?
Yeah, directories are going to be your friend. This is especially true if you have a physical business, but it's true also if you are, like you said, a sole proprietor, you've got your own gig. So one place to start, make sure that you have a page on Google My Business. This lets you control, everything from how you show up on Google Maps to, getting notifications when you get reviews from people. I see them all the time. How many people searched Kim Komando, Westar Multimedia, right? We get those because we're set up on Google My Business. Again, local directories are really, really powerful. You can do this yourself. And if you do, there are a couple things that I want you to focus on. Consistency. So make sure that the name of the business, your address, and the phone number are exactly the same everywhere. This helps that algorithm know, oh, okay, Jim's Plumbing is this Jim's Plumbing. Is this Jim's Plumbing? All over these different places. This is the same thing. If you have a different phone number, how would it know, right? It would think it was two separate businesses. There are services that will do this for you because I'm going to be honest, it's a pain. It's a lot of work. There are hundreds of directories, probably dozens that you really, really should be on, but there are so many. And think about if you changed your phone number and you had to go through and do those on every single website.
You know what? That happened to my sister. Because, she moved and then she has another school and a new school. And then she's like, oh, my gosh, they're calling the old phone number. And then that person's getting all ticked off because they're getting calls for a Dr. Davidson. But so I'm like, did you have to change the phone number? Was that because you're right. Totally a pain in the neck. And before we just leave the local businesses, of course, Yelp, super important, right?
Oh, absolutely. You want to have a Yelp profile for sure. You want to control that, put in that good bio of who you are, why your business is so great. Do that on any other site that your customers are using too. Back to the Google My Business. Yeah, you can write a profile there for yourself. So keep those consistent. It's nice because once you write it one place, you can kind of copy and paste it to all the other sites. They all want essentially the same thing. So there's the start of your to-do list. Sit down, open a document, write who your who your customers are, why you're the greatest, and then go put that all over the internet.
Okay, these are all great tips. And Allie, of course, you're going to write them up and put them on the website, right?
I will.
You got it. And I just got to leave with this. Why did the vegan become an SEO marketeer? Why did the vegan become an SEO marketeer? You know this, Allie? Anyone? No? Because she likes organic growth. Oh, nightmare.
You know what? That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Okay. Hey, thanks for being here, Al. All right. Are your apps listening to everything that you say? Yes, there's a hidden list in your smartphone that will tell you if they really are. And I'm going to give you a way to stop all that listening. Because when you install an app, do you actually ever read the app's terms and conditions? No way. Nobody does. Well, inside all that legal mumbo jumbo that you just say yes to when you click to agree, you may have given those apps permission to listen into your phone's mic and collect all this data. So how do you find out which apps are actually doing this? For if you're on an iPhone, simply open Settings, tap Privacy and Security, and then Microphone. This is going to pull up a list of all the apps that use that microphone, and from there, you can just disable the apps you don't want picking up any conversations. Now, if you're on an Android, we love you too. kind of works the same way. In your settings menu, you're going to find the Apps Permission Manager, and there you're going to disable the mic for any apps that should not be using it. And finally, before you download any apps, make sure that you read the reviews in the Apple App Store or Google Play. Now, if you're just sitting there saying, oh my gosh, Kim, what are those steps again? Oh, I have you covered. Head over to Komando.com. Let's see, Rebecca in Salem, Oregon. Hi there, Rebecca.
I'm 70 years old right now, but back in the olden days when I was learning how to do the computer stuff, I signed up for every single one of your newsletters, and I'm still getting them. And you made me feel pretty darn smart because I was able to figure out this stuff. I even made a website, and I thought I was pretty much genius, because of all your help. But in recent years, with all this technology, with televisions and all this, I'm just feeling like I'm an olden girl anymore because it's so confusing. My problem is, or our problem is that when we go traveling in our travel trailer, we have Dish Network at home, and so we have the dish that we take with the trailer. Problem is that most of the parks you're going to be in have trees, and it's really hard. You either don't get it, or you got to string a wire a long ways out, or you get very, very few channels for all the money that you're spending on Dish. I see things about streaming. I don't have a clue what in the world that really means. Another problem we have is a lot of the areas we go to are quite remote, and so we have no internet. And I just didn't know if there's anything other than just going to bed at 7:30 every night. So not like we want to be, but it's just kind of nice to watch a few shows. So
okay, so here's what you can do, is that you have something called offline viewing. And so let's say, for example, do you have Netflix?
Yes.
Okay, so with Netflix, what you can do is you just go to the movie, and then in the three-dot menu, there's going to be an option to download the movie. And then you can download the movie. Not all titles are available for download, Rebecca. So the whole idea is, so even though it's streaming, is that before you guys head off for your next adventure, is that you go onto Netflix and you download some movies onto your tablet or on your laptop. And you can do this on Amazon Prime, Disney Plus. And again, you just go to the show, the movie, and there's going to be a download option. It's a pretty decent selection. Now, the big benefit, of course, is that you don't need to have an internet connection to do this. It's really sweet. Now, if you're finding that your laptop, your tablet, your phone, or whatever gets overloaded, that's when you can buy an external hard drive. And then you can also maybe even connect that up to your TV if it supports media playback. So you're just going to download these movies. And so we're not going to be streaming. We're not going to worry about any internet access. You can get all the shows that you might want, and maybe pick a series that was really where you guys laughed a whole bunch maybe 20 years ago, and then you can rewatch that type of stuff. But we're not going to worry about having a Wi-Fi booster, a separate antenna, a local SIM card, whatever it may be. The easiest way to do this when you're camping is to find whatever movie that you want, unless you want to do DVDs, which, that's always an option. But just to find the movies on whatever service that you're looking at, and then you're going to go ahead and download it. Now, keep in mind, it's going to give you different options to download it. Depending upon space, you may not need 1080p. 720 may be just enough for, whatever TV that you have in your travel trailer. So if space is an issue, just keep in mind that Super HD may not be for you. That 4K movie, probably too much, but the 720 may be all that you need in order to now go to bed at 7:30 and still have some laughs and have a nice glass of wine. And Rebecca, if you need any help afterwards getting this all set up, just search the website for offline viewing. That's what it's called. Yeah, technical term, offline viewing. And thank you for your call. Okay, it's a dark moment. The power's out and you don't have any bars. So what can you do? Here's the secret. Your ISP has backup power for situations just like this. So for a limited time, you could still access the internet even during a power outage. But here's the critical part. Your modem and your router, they need power too. And that's where you need to have an external backup battery comes into play. You just plug your modem and your router into one, and then they can stay powered even after everything else goes dark. And then you can use Wi-Fi based apps like FaceTime or Skype, and then you can send text messages, you can make phone calls. So you do need that external backup battery. We have our picks over at Komando.com. Typically, they last anywhere between, gives you like 15 minutes up to 3 hours. But for those extra hours, it's going to cost you maybe $1,000. Hey, be sure that you tell 3 friends about the Kim Komando Show.